Welcome to the Global Peace Film Festival Lives Online Conversation 2022 Festival Edition. Please join me, Kelly Devine, the Artistic Director, and Nina Strike, the Executive Director, in conversation with the filmmaker, Paige Morrow Kimball. She is joining us again with her new film, Powers, which you can see as a part of the 20th Anniversary Global Peace Film Festival. Our in-person programming begins September 19th and ends September 25th, followed immediately by our virtual programming beginning September 26th, ending October the 2nd. All of the information about our events, screenings, and conversations can be found at peacefilmfest.org. And now, please welcome us in joining Paige with her incredible film, Powers.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Hi, Paige. It's great to have you. We're so happy to have another film of yours in the festival. So let's start out. Tell us about Powers.
Well, first of all, it's a thrill to be part of your festival. We loved it last time with our film Playdate, and I don't know why I say we, because it's me. I'm not royalty. I usually do everything myself and hire a bunch of great collaborators. So I have loved being part of your festival last time, and I'm happy to be back with Powers. And Powers is a truly sort of self-guided attempt at making a film. I shot it completely on an iPhone, which most people, when they see it, they're very surprised, because it's amazing what you can do with those little gadgets that we carry around every day. So Powers came about really during the pandemic. I am a mom. I have two teenage girls. They were stuck at home for the better part of a year and a half. I was trying not to lose my mind, quite frankly, and started taking long walks in my neighborhood. I would look for any sign of positivity that I could find, and I started recording those, just taking photographs and on my iPhone and then posting them on Instagram. One day during these walks, and by the way, I kept seeing signs of like, hang in there, we're going to be okay. People would just hang them up on their houses and on their fences in Los Angeles. It was really encouraging to know you're not alone, even though we were so isolated. One day I stumbled upon these beautifully crafted, whimsical sculptures, and they were characters. They were like owls or birds or frogs, and they had these signs of encouragement that said, laugh often, be love, things like that, big hugs. And I was like, I just thought they were so beautiful. They were made from recycled trash. And I thought, who made these? I went home, I researched, could not find anything about the artist who had hung these up on telephone poles, all up and down this, especially in this one concentrated area in my neighborhood in Mar Vista. So on one of my walks, I used to take different routes every day to just mix it up, trying not to be bored. I passed by this house, and there was a very similar sculpture in the front yard that looked like the one in the telephone poles. And at that moment, a woman came out. She was dressed sort of like almost like a mad scientist. She had like this apron on and these goggles around her neck, and she was carrying some trash. And I said, "Excuse me, are you the artist who makes those beautiful sculptures in the telephone poles?" And she said, "Why, yes, but don't tell anybody." And I thought, who are you? What is your story? And we started chatting from there. And I asked her if I could, I told her I was a filmmaker. Could I just interview her? And kind of that interview was really a lot of the basis for the film. And then I just started showing up at her house a couple times a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, more and more, gathering my arsenal of iPhone tools and accessories. And I realized as we continued down this journey that this was a story that needed to be shared with the world. And that's how it started.
That is a beautiful description of the inspiration that you found when many people, as you said, were isolated and were in a kind of dark place during the pandemic, and yet you were able to make this amazing connection. And so it speaks to it in a way, your art and power, and the art of, of Powers is taking that initiative to express yourself and to
Mm,
reach out to the world in a positive way. What
yeah.
was important about that, about that approach?
Well, a few things popped into my mind as you were saying that. First of all, she had an outdoor studio, so it was COVID safe. And I wore my mask the whole time, and we always had distance. So that made it possible that her beautiful studio is outdoors. Number two, it occurred to me recently that as I filmed her, moved around through my artistic sensibility, through my art, she was creating art. I decided early on that it would be cool to see her take one of these characters from beginning, the inception of it, to the end, to the hanging of it. And that could be possibly one of the threads of the film. You're always looking for those threads in documentary. And so I would flow as she would flow. And it was this sort of symbiotic artistic relationship. And the third thing that came to me is that, relationships build, trust builds, and the bond we had, and still have to this day, really evolved with time, and I always say this: time is really good for documentaries. Time is not good for scripted. But for documentaries, you need time for this seed of an idea that you have to really blossom. And so that's what I found through this journey of filming her.
And something that you and I had spoken about earlier outside of this conversation was the things that you learned and that surprised you about just using your iPhone,
Mm.
and how important that was as a tool for expression.
Yes, for sure. I mean, the iPhone allowed me a ton of intimacy with Lori. Her name is Lori Powers. The film is Powers, named after Lori. And it also has that double meaning, which I love. Took a minute to find that title, by the way. But yes, I think the iPhone allowed me the access that I would not have had. So it was just me. I always joke, I say it's an all-female crew of one. Because people are so used to having iPhones. So it's a wonderful tool. Like, it was right here, sometimes here, and I'd ask her these very deep questions. And at first she was hiding who she was. She wasn't ready to share it with the world. So getting her to open up, even to me, and then to this potential, audience through my lens, was a process. And I believe that if I had gone in there with a crew, camera person, sound person, even those two, it would have held her back more. So it was really, truly a window to her soul. She forgot about it. I mean, it was there. I'm sure other crews, if you hang out long enough, you forget about it. But with Lori especially, this was a very, this was a process, and getting her to trust. And I would say, I don't know what this is. And I truly didn't. It's not like I showed up and I thought, oh gosh, this is a documentary. I thought maybe I'd just do a fun little segment on her, because I have this experience and this talent, and I love to share that with the world. And I thought, well, this is a really cool person. Let me just kind of follow her around and see what it is. I thought maybe it's a 5-minute segment, and I just give it to her as a gift. And boy, did I step in a puddle that turned out to be a lake. Yeah.
And there's just such this lovely parallel between you doing it for yourself and Lori doing it for herself.
Yeah. The thing about Lori, and I think you find out early in the film, is that she was not really doing this for herself, because she is so selfless about her approach. And I think I was too. I mean, really doing it by herself, yes, and by myself, yes, but for herself, she hangs these sculptures in the neighborhood anonymously to simply spread love and joy. She started it when school shootings began to be a thing. And the interesting thing about this person is that she did not become an artist until into her 50s, until she was in her 50s. She was in the corporate world for 30 years before this, and raised 2 kids and had a whole other life, never thought of herself as an artist. And that's another thing the film speaks to. It's like it's never too late to do what you love, to discover who you are. And often that looks very different in the second half of our lives, and because we're so much deeper and so much more, grounded and beautiful as fully developed humans. And I think we often forget that, so much emphasis on youth, especially in our culture. And Lori really evolved into becoming this artist. And when I met her, she was not only hiding, well, because she thought it was illegal to hang anything on public utilities, which it is. Shh, don't tell anyone. But also because she was really not fully secure in herself as an artist. She hadn't come out as an artist, even to many of her friends. Some of her friends, yeah, they would know, they would help her hang them, but she always hung them at night. And then eventually she started thinking that was super dangerous because she almost fell off these, because she's 20 feet, 10, 15, 20 feet up on a ladder. It's dangerous at night. She almost slipped. She didn't know how to do it. She started disguising herself as a male utility worker so she could go out during the day. And as the film goes, you do find that out. But a lot of that is she was very insecure about her art. She wasn't sure people liked it. So that the film chronicles that journey of her into her own self-acceptance on several levels.
Fascinating. And I want to jump back to and thank you for making that important distinction with my prepositions.
Yeah.
That
No, I mean, yeah.
I really appreciate that. And to kind of key into that sense of doing things for others and creating models for others.
Mhm.
That's really what we hope to inspire and why we choose the different films that we choose.
Mhm.
We certainly celebrate the craft that is clearly
Yeah.
on display in your filmmaking, but our main goal is really to inspire people to take action back into their, into the positive models back into their own lives and into their own communities. And I know with your previous film, Playdate, that you have a very extensive kind of impact and educational set of tools around that.
Yes.
To, but every film is different. So can you talk about powers in terms of impact?
Well, yes, I think with Powers, I mean, when I first made it, it was supposed to be a gift to the world, and it turned out to be so many gifts back. And I had that same experience with Playdate. I often, before I start a project, I just, say a meditation about use my talent for the greater good, for the greatest good, because it takes off the onus on oneself as an artist, and then you really relax into the message and into the impact it can have. How can this be set off into the world and help people? And I think with Power specifically, you watch somebody that had a very turbulent past, had to overcome a lot. We find that out as we move into the film. And she turns that darkness into light and simply wants to spread joy in her neighborhood, through to her neighbors and her community. And I think that is the message. That's the deep message. One, it's never too late to follow your passion, do what you love. And two, what can you do with your hands and your heart and your past? How can you take this and turn it to spread joy? Because a lot of people, I think, keep in the darkness. It's very hard to break that cycle of darkness. It is. But if you can use that darkness and turn it into life, oh my gosh, you can move mountains. And I hope it inspires people to do this also for themselves in their own lives, in their own communities, just spread joy for just the sake of uplifting others. Have you ever had that experience where you go into a grocery store and you're just like looking at the person, filling the shelf that works there, and you just have a conversation and you just give them the best of you? It's life altering, you know?
Yeah, that's beautiful, and the film is really lovely. It's like
Mhm.
wondrous to meet this fabulous woman with these sort of quirky and um, and lovely piece of art installations in such an unusual place for art installations. So we're so delighted to have the film in the Global Peace Film Festival. Tell us where, what else is happening with the film, how people can support this film and your work, and what's next for you.
Well, let's see. That's three questions. So let me get okay. So the first thing is I just want to say Lori's gallery is the World Gallery. It's right here in Mar Vista. If you ever come to LA, walk down Palms Boulevard and you can see all these joyous messages, and she'll totally have you come to her studio, and she's just wonderful. And I hope you can have her on as well if that, if your schedule allows. So what's happening with the film is it's gotten, I mean, honestly, I didn't realize how much impact it would have. It's gotten into, I think it's 16th film festival right now. It's won 5 awards at film festival, which at film festivals, one was Oscar qualifying, which is pretty amazing for a little iPhone movie. And let's see, so we're on the festival circuit right now. We've been approached by some distributors already, so we're kind of in talks with people to see what the best home is. And up now, oh, I should mention, I pitched the idea of Lori and her recycled art to Sesame Street. I work for Sesame Street quite a bit, and they commissioned me to make a film. So she's now starring in R is for Reuse, Teaching the Letter R, a short film that will roll into Sesame Street on HBO and PBS in a few months. I'm sorry, probably next year. I don't know. Their schedule is so varied, but you can look for that. It's really sweet. It makes everybody smile who watches it. My family watches it before I finish films. They go, "What do you think?" And they're all smiling. I know that's a good sign. And then next, I'm thinking about doing the behind the scenes story of this film, of this story, because my journey is not part of the film. You don't see that side. And everybody asks me, like, there's also the interest on the other side of the camera. How did this come to be? Like you guys asked. And I think it would be really interesting. I love the space where scripted and documentary meet, doing a hybrid film, because I have hundreds of hours of footage I didn't even use, with me talking to her. And so I thought it would be really interesting to play with that. And then I just finished a short film for PBS on the artist Ed Massey, public artist. So that's coming out. It's been a really busy run. I'll tell you, I've done 4 films in a row, shorts, all shorts, but a lot of it was based on the success and the impact of Powers. So I'm really happy that people are seeing it, and just it's taking them on this journey of joy.
That is the best thing to end on, a journey
Uh,
of joy.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Paige.
Oh, and please check out my work on macazanfilms.com. You can see all of my stuff, and I'm on Instagram at Paige Morrow Kimball as well. Please reach out and say hi.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. And thank everyone also who has watched this glow today. I cannot recommend seeking out this film highly enough. Please do go to peacefilmfest.org to find a way to see it if you're in the Central Florida area. And also seek it out, as Paige mentioned. It is just burning up the film festival circuit, so it may be playing in a festival near you very soon. So keep your eyes and ears open for it. And again, if you want to support Paige Morrow Kimball's work, please go to macazanfilms.com. Remember that our in-person screenings begin September 19th and end September 25th, followed immediately by our virtual week, September 26th through October the 2nd. All the information can be found at peacefilmfest.org. Thank you again, and we'll see you at the next Glow.